Okay, so our group's members, we have five. Okay, we have five members, including me. So I am the first card that can show about introduction, about Gandhi's background, and third course. Okay, Gandhi's quote about seven social things. Okay. Okay, the same as other group are represented. So Gandhi is the great leader in the world, not only in India, but his influence across in the world. Because he can is his country to be independent from British. Okay, that's why he can have those people, poor people in India to be not under the others, to share room before he was assassinated by one person on January 30, 1948. Okay, not much about that because I already did it. And then we go to, okay, before he died, he has 7 quotes. Sorry, the quotes talk about 7 daily sins that today I will go here to tell you about politics without principle. So the rest, my group member will continue to simplify those. Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Let's start with the definition of the principle of politics without principle. First, the polity is the process of making decisions and apply to all each group. We also can say that it is another achieving that is the positioning in the government for the humanity and the community. Yes, and here is the principle. It refers to the basic idea or rule that explain how to control or manage in can say that in the form of organization. And also it is of the moral rule or standard of good behavior. Yes, and it is the politics without principle, so I will say it. And we know that it's a rule. Principle is a rule. It's a standard idea or moral rule that applies in one organization to control or to manage it. So if you think that politics is the making decision, the process without a rule, the standard idea. If we apply that politics without principle to the society, how will it happen to our society?
It's simply something like if we refer to the economic, to the financial, then we receive something like imbalance, or it may be
Like we feel that we got cheap, and it can make the process of violence become poor or have a problem in our society. How we are showing you the case study which will present.
Did everybody go to vote?
Yes.
Yes. So during the recent commune election in Cambodia, I think there are 12 political parties and about 8,000 election candidates. If you look at the number, you feel that Cambodia has reached a milestone in democracy. We have a lot of political parties. We have a lot of candidates to vie for our vote. If you look at just the surface, you feel that you're proud of where Cambodia is coming to right now. But if I ask you, did you know your commune political representatives, like who they are, what is their name, who represent your community? Anybody know? Like at least at my Sankat, I don't know who they are. I don't know their name. I don't know their face. And therefore, when I go to vote, I vote blindly. Like really, I saw the logo of the political party and that's it. I just take. I don't know. That is very important because I need to know the candidates themselves. What is their principle? Can I trust them? What is their principle based on they want they join this particular party because they want to make a positive difference to my community, or they think this is just a career opportunity. I need to know that. But unfortunately, it seems like all the candidates feel like they don't need to promote themselves. They don't need to go to the public and explain their principles to their constituents. So I feel like as a voter, we have the right to know our candidates rather than just vote blindly. If you look at the recent presidential election in the U.S., they have this very different. They have only two parties, but that doesn't mean that they don't have their problems during the election campaign. I don't know if you follow the election in the U.S., but it's pretty, it's very interesting, and especially the recent election, two candidates both have a lot of scandals. Hillary Clinton, for example, she was accused of mishandling classified information of the U.S. government during her tenure as the Secretary of State. And for Donald Trump, he has a lot of lawsuits against him. One particular lawsuit was about his Trump University. He was accused of fraud, especially for his business. So if you look at the U.S. election, even though they are a bigger country, they promote more democracy, but that doesn't mean that their political candidates stay true to their principles. They both have their own scandals and their own problem, and it is something that we should take as a lesson for our country. Thank you. Next.
Alright, so now let's come to our discussion. So I have one main question for you all. So what purpose do the principles serve and why they're needed? So here, I want to know one answer. Can be one of you. So you know the understanding of principle and also why do we need it. So from our previous presenters, can anyone here answer this question? So that we'll jump into just to save face. So I hope that you can answer the question and we can proceed to the next slide. So why do we need principle? For example, you as a person, why do we need principle? Yeah, to shape who you are. Yes, it's part of the same. So in terms of so principle here we talk in the politics. So it can shape, it can guide how the best politics can be. Alright, so but we cannot guarantee that. For example, if you guys are holding the position, or you guys will be the one who exercise the power, but we cannot guarantee that you will forgive, you will give up your selfishness. So even, for example, just like a professor, you are one of the representatives of the country, so I cannot believe that. I think to the minor percentage. I'm sorry. All right. So again, so let's come back to our presentation. We cannot guarantee that everyone will give up their selfishness. So, for example, you're holding the position and exercise power. So we know the purpose because we are the one who hold the position. So we make sure that we are there in order to serve people. Actually, if we talk about principle, there's a lot of set of principles. But it's one thing that you mentioned is that we have to respect what we mean. We cannot just say, promise, whatever, but we cannot take our word. So it's part of the principle. And I said there's a lot of set principles that all the politicians, if you are willing to serve for humanity, so you make sure that you follow all the set principles.
But in the ideal world, it's what just said and been written, but we cannot just been practicing. And so again, because the duty of the statesmanship is to protect the welfare and also the protection of the people and humankind, but in the reality, so they cannot serve what has been said. And because politics is not just the word that is meant to fulfill individual selfishness, but just to make sure that you can serve people with selfless services. It's what I just want to mean over here. So it's one important part of the principle that I just want to raise. And there are some sort of principles that I would like to raise today. So the first one is the principle of non-contradiction. So over here, so for non-contradiction is that, for example, you talk about one thing, so it cannot be different. For example, one thing cannot have two different answers. For example, if you talk about certain things, it cannot be just both of them cannot true and false at the same time, and at the same set of time. And yeah, so which means that, for example, if you're talking about democracy, so which means that people can voice out their opinion. So which means that it's been practiced in all the democracy world. So you cannot just say to go to this country which is practicing democracy, but you cannot voice out your opinion. So you say, so this principle you have to be the same over time. It's non-contradiction. And the second one, the principle of reason of being. So which means that this principle respects because we have the reason of human being. So why you exist. So which means that we respect from who you are and your existence. And the third one, the principle of causality. So this will link to the cause and effects. So every effect, it's come from cause. So in order to avoid any minor or major problem, so we have to think what is the effect of the certain decision or certain cause that you're going to make. And the last one is the principle of identity. So which means that, so we have different group or different identity. So which means that we derive those groups from, we have different identity. So which means that this principle, we have to respect the certain identity, the certain group of people. And so next one, I would like to raise 3 universal truths that promise of hope. For example, so these come from us as individuals because, for example, we have 3 different certain things or principles from us. So what I mentioned earlier from the top, or the politician. So for example, we know that we individually we have a voice. So which is we as a person, we have right, we have complete authority in order to voice out ourselves. So which means that your decision can make an impact as well. And number 2, we know that as a group, courage still works. Here, for example, I want to raise a few examples about the case or the process that happened in Syria, in Egypt, and for example in Sudan, and even in China. So some group of people, they understand that there's no hope for doing such a protest. But because people, when they get into group, they have that courage in order to push them, and they believe that the certain thing that they do will make an impact. But sometimes courage doesn't always win. So which means there always possibility of lose as well. But it somehow it's work, and it also makes a difference to what you're doing as well. And last but not least, we know that our principle defines us. So for example, certain group of people, certain certain country, they have different set of principles. So those kind of principles will define who they are. And also, in order to avoid such a problem that caused by the politics for having no principle, and I will bring you guys 5 different approaches for ethical decision making. So the first one, the right approach. So here, the very first one will determine, for example, you have equal right, you have to make sure that everyone, they can share what they think, they can be a part of the decision making as well. And number 2, the utilitarian approach. So here, it takes into account the benefit and the harmful impact of your decision. So which means that before you make such a decision, you have to think about the impact, so in terms of positive and negative impacts of your decision, and what are the alternatives that you can do in order to prevent such the action or decision making. And also for number 3, the justice approach, so which means that it's the fairness. So the way that you treat people with fair. So make sure that everyone, they have equal rights, and you cannot think about the favoritism and also discrimination. So everyone is equal. And number 4, the common good approach. So you have to make sure that your decision, what else can you bring the good to your people and your community. So as a leader, as a politician, so you have to take care of all of those stuff. And the last but not least, the virtue of approach. So here, for example, we as individuals, we have our internal value, we have internal virtue, and also everything. But so here, so this is the approach that can define, or it will set who you should be. So here is the ideally set already. For example, so who you are, who you should be. So in terms of your decision making. Do you understand the last one? So actually we have an internal set of behavior, set of standard already. But we have someone out there. They are perfect. So your decision can be swift and can be diversified as well. So this is the end of my point, and let's jump to our conclusion that is presented by another presenter.
I know we're all hungry. So jump to my part. I'm going to sum up some parts. Like the first one, first, what is true north? You look at it, you see it, but you don't know what it is. The true north, when we talk about compass, we got south, east, west, right, blah, blah, blah. So north refers to the one side that you can exactly find the other side, which is the west, the south, and the east. So that is not one true north, because without that side, there is no other side, no direction. So with one direction, you get everything. Okay. Now, politics is not meant for fulfillment, so it is not for you, it is not for my family, but it is for the service of the humanity. So you need selfless body to serve that, because without the selfless purpose, there's no principle. Even though you talk, you speak, you put on speaker, you use anything, but it just talk. It will never be principle. So yeah, politics nowadays. So we can say that 1,000 people, they will never be all bad, right? Not 1,000, like here we have like 10 students, not everyone's bad. Maybe some, right? So here, as long as there is one person who stand on his or her feet and try to put his principle into action, not just talk like the rest of the class, that person is going to change. Whether you like the idea or not, it will change. So when one person talks, about his principle. The other will feel, and they will learn, and they will change. So yeah, it is just nature. When we think something is good, we kind of like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I want to be like that too. Right? So talking about one policeman around Chiang Mai, you know that? One policeman, he's always doing the traffic. So he was the first guy, the first policeman who ever did that. Good job, absolutely. And then another policeman in Chibang first, my hometown. Yeah, was one no place called Chibang first. He did that thing, following the good guy, the good policeman. And you know what happened? Everyone just posting on the news, Facebook, sharing. Okay, he's good. He's from my province. Just proud of him. And whenever you see him, you just hand him money or stuff to eat. It's not like he will be there when you see him. Put on your helmet. If you don't wear your helmet, seat belt, you don't put on, right? Fear. You don't fear him, but whenever you see him, you like him. And he does not ask for money from you. You are willing to pay for him. So that's the principle, right? Good. Everyone should be good. Okay. The last one. Actually, I have a picture. Just so you know that. So I just quoted from author Caldwell. I don't know that guy, but yeah, it's good. It is better to be defeated on principle than to win on life. So if you know that you are going to win, whether you choose to be a bad guy or a good guy, good, right? You know that you will win. Why be bad, right? Be good and win. But if your decision is wrong, you act like a good guy, but you lose. You say praise. You don't have to explain, right? Okay, I win because I cheated. And then you lose. And everyone knows that you cheat. And you lose. That's not good. You have a student and cheat all the time. And they fail. And that's not good, right? I know that. So, if you are going to make a decision, if you are going to make a decision, make it good. Whether you win or you lose, you say your face. So nobody is going to laugh or cry with you, no drama. So everyone does not need drama. So that is it. Sum up with my politics and principle with my group. And thank you for listening.
Hey guys, definitely everyone is good. Put a word, show some teamwork, good information. Yeah, definitely it can be harder. The slide, I do like it a lot. The slide you put what side, you know, one thing
But
another
small.
side you
I don't
just
really
put
do
position.
this.
Yeah, definitely too small.
Yeah.
This is I noticed this time that you have not improved. One thing that you need to. You cannot write a whole paragraph on slides like that. Okay? Because a paragraph is more in writing a paper. It's not a paper, it's a slide. No,
This one, right?
not. I'm not taking any point out. I just give you constructive feedback. It's your choice. You want to do it, but some teachers very strict. Whatever you present, I give you 100%. Okay? You improve or not, just my feedback. I don't take this point out. I'm not like all the teachers. Some teachers very strict. If you do that, they're not going to give you much grade. Okay? My point. Especially when you, for your own business, if it's not for school, when you want to try to sell something or say something, you put the whole 9 yards and go off. Okay? Also, the timing we went over, and how we just very important to exactly that you should present like lesson planners, because most presentations wouldn't like to give much time straight to the point. Okay? But I'm not taking a point on that. But I have a question for you though. Anybody have a question for team 4?
ở bên này mình lôi cái của còn nó cái của chọn ở trong có nghĩa ở bên xua của bên xua ấy mình lôi okay I need a volunteer for team 4 all the speakers in the side of band and at least one person and no xua what are your principles as a leader buông đèn này and give you volunteer tell me what are your principles as a leader yeah so you can volunteer one of you or be the command. What is your principle as you as a leader? I call you a leader. Okay.